Everybody, welcome back to the Hooty Hoo KSU Football Podcast. My name is Griffin Nichols. I am your host. Here we go. Normal week. Having a game on a Saturday. It's been a while. Feels like it's been a long while. I think it's been over a month. What would we do? Thursday, like bye week, Tuesday, then another week and a half off before this game. So yeah, here we go. Back to Saturdays. Tomorrow, 4 p.m. at New Mexico State. Kennesaw State favored by 9.5 points on the road at New Mexico State. Over-under sits at 52.5 points. So let's dive into this here for a minute. First of all, last week's reaction show to the sixth victory in a row it was short. It was my shortest one in a long time. You know, the problem with that is I waited too long to hop on to where it wasn't fresh in my mind, like the immediate reaction either after the game or the day after. So that's my bad. I wanted to get something out there, but I probably shouldn't have waited till Friday to have that drop. Also, I'm having all sorts of internet issues. I think that Amazon thing really messed a lot of things up. It seems like we're back to normal. So we should be dropping on all of our platforms. Again, that's going to be YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, on audio podcasts, everything you can think of, whether it's Apple, Amazon, Spotify, iHeartRadio, you name it, the audio version is there. As I always say, if you go audio instead of the visual, you lose this. So you have to decide. For those of you who are podcast listeners, I was pointing to my face. It's a little joke. Been a long week, Been a long week. I don't know what anybody else's week's been like here in Georgia, or around the world. It's been a long week for sure, but week has come to an end. It is Friday, so that's good. I'm getting ready for another great weekend of college football. We'll talk about some games overall. College football rankings dropped on Tuesday. I've got some thoughts about that. I'll get to at the end of the show, but I do want to preview this game because if you are tuning into this, you're checking it out. Now, I do want to make a public service announcement. I don't even know if that's the right term, but, there are sites out there that focus on a university and all their sports. And I think they do a wonderful job. All universities have those. You have to decide as a consumer which entity you want to give your time to, as time is your most valuable possession, who entertains you the most, who intrigues you the most. But this program was designed specifically for football. Why? Well, I love the sport. I've always loved the sport. Growing up in the South, it's kind of in your blood. If you're from the North, I almost said Northerner. If you're from the North, it's usually going to be pro sports, things like that. But in the South, it's all about college football. So I'm the most comfortable talking about college football, what I've seen, what I've learned over all these years, and just by experience, both as a fan and now a podcaster. But I love the sport. I'm not really all that comfortable talking about other sports as well as I can about college football. So that's why I stay right here. Stay in my lane, if you will. So I'll give content throughout the entire year like I did last year, even in the off season. But this is a football-centric show, so if you're here for any other sport, that's not what I'm here for. I know my limitations, and college football is kind of my sweet spot, and that's what I'm going to go to. I'm going to kind of broadcast to my strengths. So I hope you're enjoying it. I hope you continue to leave a thumbs up, to like and subscribe, 5-star reviews, all that good stuff, all helps. Please comment. The comments, you have no idea the impact the comments have. It does give good constructive criticism to how I can continue and how I can grow this brand and kind of grow this program. And that's the goal when it's all said and done with, is not only is it enjoyable to do this, I actually miss this when I don't get the chance to do this. But it's also the idea is that something grows and something becomes more common and there's more interaction with fans. And the team has really helped me out a great deal this year being so successful. I'd heard an idea the other day on Twitter, which was for game day to go to Jax State versus Kennesaw State, because that is kind of going to be the determining factor, most likely, of who wins the conference, who wins Conference USA, as both teams are tied for first place in Conference USA. Kennesaw State is technically in first place because of the overall record, which would be amazing. Can you imagine College Game Day going to cover Kennesaw State and Jax State? That is incredible. I mean, that means that you are doing something. And I feel so repetitive because I just can't believe how well this team has played this year and what a great year it has been. that transitions us to this game. I'm going to tell you ahead of time that this game kind of bothers me a little bit, and let me tell you why. We saw how shaky Kennesaw State was at home the last time they played against UTEP. They had in their mind the bowl game, becoming bowl eligible for the first time, continuing to play as a home favorite, which is not how the year started, with expectations now that you're going to win against one of the lower-ranked teams in your conference. And they were shaky. They were not comfortable. Dexter Williams started the game, as we remember, and missed 4 different touchdown opportunities through the air because he wasn't accurate with the deep ball. It's just nerves. It goes back to that's a nervy game. It's a nervy game with some costly injuries, and but now it's behind you. So here comes another kind of nervy game. You've been told now for a while that this Jax State game coming up a week from now is the game. It's going to win. It's going to determine who wins the conference. We just had a comment a second ago I just made about game day being there. You know it's a big game. You're hyped up for that big game. You want to show your best. The world's watching, if you will. So it's definitely going to get a lot of eyeballs. But you got to be careful with those look-ahead games. You got to be careful about the team that you don't think is going to be any trouble and you don't come with your best effort because you're looking ahead to what you feel is a more important game. And is it a more important game, Jax State? Well, sure it is. I mean, sure it is with those two teams coming together there, those 2 first-place teams, if records hold, coming together there. But it doesn't mean you take an opponent lightly. And I think if there's anything we've learned this season in college football, and really the last 2 seasons, these teams anymore are so similar. It's so similar. And again, I'll talk about the playoff picture here in a little while, but it really is, when you look at it and you kind of get outside the top 8, it really kind of comes one of those situations where it seems like any team could beat the other team, which is great. The parity is great in the sport, without question. No one is allowed to really just hoard 5 stars anymore like they have, well, forever. So that's a terrific thing. But if that's true, then you can really lose every single week, and you got to be careful. You got to be careful for getting overconfident, but also looking ahead. So with this game in particular, it sets up for a victory for Kennesaw State. But can you then do what you need to ensure a victory so that you can be in that position to have that big game against Jax State next week? So we'll see. So let's go over the stats. New Mexico State is 3-5 on the season. They are 3rd to the bottom in Conference USA. They have 1 win in Conference USA over Sam Houston. Their other wins were against Bryant College, which is the first game of the season. They won 19-3. Listen, I love the sport. I really do. I have no idea where Bryant College is. I've never even heard of it before. But 19-3, that's kind of a rough start to the season. The next week, and this one surprised me, they beat Tulsa 21-14. Tulsa's not a bad team. So that kind of got my attention a little bit. And then something happens with week 3. They play Louisiana Tech, and they get the doors blown off them, 49-14. Now, we've seen this Louisiana Tech team. We know what this Louisiana Tech team is. And they're not a bad team at all, don't get me wrong, but 49-14, that's significant. Then they play against New Mexico, and I need to see, I'm going to pull over my schedule real fast. I want to double check this because something I meant to look at was what their home and away record is, and I totally forgot that when I was writing everything down. So I'm going to look at that real fast just to make sure that I'm giving us an accurate picture, because it's absolutely important where you're playing. Okay, so let's see here. Let's do this a little bit better. So we're at home against Bryant. We win 19-3. We're at home against Tulsa, losing 21-14. On the road at Louisiana Tech, you lose 49-14. On the road at New Mexico, you lose 38-20. At home against Sam Houston, that's a win, 37-10. At Liberty, they lost 30-27 against a Liberty team that's not great. At home against Missouri State wins that game in overtime, 24-17. Finally, they were at Western Kentucky, which they lost 35-16. Okay, so that tells me that they've only lost one game at home this year. So that should be something to pay attention to. So at home, they're playing better than on the road, as most teams do in college football. It seems like in pro, home and away doesn't have as much impact, but in college, it absolutely has an impact. So New Mexico State is at home. Kennesaw State has to travel out there to play this game at 4 o'clock, which is, 7 o'clock probably? Is that right? Yeah, 7 o'clock Kennesaw State time. So again, it's not crazy like the Florida State played at Stanford a few weeks ago, and the kickoff was at 10:30 at night. I mean, that's with their body clock, with those players' body clock, it's like they're playing football at 2 a.m. It's crazy to have to kick off that late when you're coming from the East Coast. But this isn't that by any means, but it is definitely a change. Different climate as well, much more dry there in New Mexico than it is in Georgia. I don't think that that's going to have an impact, but it is different. I mean, it is different when you're traveling that far in a road game versus the week later, next week at Jax State, it's 2 hours away. I mean, that's nothing. It's a bus ride. So we'll see. But offensively, New Mexico State, 301 yards per game is what their average. That's 127th in the nation, which is not great. Passing, 232 yards per game. That's 68th. Rushing, they're 136th. So let me back something up real fast. There's 138 teams total right now in Division I. Offense overall is 127, so clearly not great. We take their rushing, and they're one of the worst rushing teams in the country, ranking 136th in the country, scoring overall 112th. So their offense is a problem, for sure. They're definitely more of a passing team than they are a running team. Their quarterback, Logan Fife, has 1,829 yards on the season, 9 touchdowns, but 9 interceptions. Their leading rusher is Kadarius Callaway. He's had 289 yards on the season, on 80 carries in 3 touchdowns. Receiving, Donovan Fappel has 476 yards on 39 catches in 3 touchdowns. So those are going to be the main offensive weapons that they have. If we look at New Mexico State defensively, they're giving up 390 yards per game, which is ranked 94th. Passing defense, 246 passing yards a game, which is 106th in the country. Rushing defense, they give up 144 yards, which is ranked 62nd in the country. And scoring, 25.4, they are ranked 78th in the country, giving up the 78th most points in the country. So clearly the defense is pretty solid overall. Not great against the passing attack. There was a lot of the teams that they played. So that then tells me that Amari Odom is the go-to tomorrow with the passing. I think he's a more consistent passer than Dexter Williams is. I think with this team, from a game plan point of view, is you try to hit those big shock plays early on in the first 2 quarters. Take a lead. If you can get a lead on this team by 2 touchdowns, it's going to be real hard for them to come back and beat you, honestly. It's just that the offense isn't set up that way. But, easier said than done. If we look at Kennesaw State's rankings, offensively, they're averaging 372 yards a game, which is 78th in the country. Again, New Mexico State is 127th. Passing, 217 per game. That's 84th in the country. A reminder that passing for New Mexico State is 68th in the country, so they're a better passing team. Rushing, Kennesaw State, 155 yards per game, ranked 70th. Rushing for them, again, they're one of the worst in the country, 136. Scoring, 26.3, which is 78th in the country. Their scoring is 112th. If we look at defensive matchups, Kennesaw State overall is the 93rd ranked team in the country on defense, 389, one below New Mexico State. So the defenses are similar. So you've seen this defense play and how well they play, that's kind of what you're going up against. You're kind of going up against your own defense, which, in a sense, helps this offense because that's who you're practicing against every single week. Kennesaw State's passing defense is 227 yards per game, which is 78th in the country, rushing 162 yards, which is 94th in the country, and scoring 21.1, which is 36th in the country, which is amazing. They're just not giving up many points. Again, that whole bend but don't break kind of situation. Kennesaw State is definitely making teams kick field goals instead of getting touchdowns, which is one of the keys to victory. We have talked about this for our wish list since February of last year. Bend but don't break. Let your offense outscore an opponent and put them in a position to the where they become one-sided, and you can kind of scheme towards what they're having to do, which is to throw the ball to catch up with your offense. That pressure is there to continue to score every time you get the ball to keep up with an explosive offense. It has worked out beautifully this year. It really has, and hopefully it continues on till tomorrow. My feelings on this game, I don't know. I mean, on paper, as we just literally did something on paper, Kennesaw State should win. That should be it. They should set up well to win this game, to get a 7th victory in a row, to go undefeated in conference play into next week against Jax State. This is so, I don't know. It's one of those sayings that you hear every time. There's nothing revolutionary for what I'm about to say, but obviously games aren't won on paper. I don't love that saying because no kidding. But I don't know. This game bothers me a little bit. I don't think I would take the 9.5. How about that? I think I would do the over-under, if that's your thing. But the 9.5 seems, I feel like it's going to be a closer game. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's a complete blowout. I hope it's one-sided. I hope it's a rocking chair game that you're up by 21 points going into the fourth quarter and you can just kind of flip around and see what else is going on because this game isn't that interesting. That's the goal, right? That's the goal for any team you root for. But with this game, I just don't know. I don't know how mature this team is because there isn't a history in Division I of winning or being a position as a front runner in a conference with these expectations now. Expectations are sometimes hard to play with. It's always more motivational as a coach to tell your players that we're supposed to get blown out by these guys. You know, they're favored by 20 points over us. We've got no chance according to the media, but we know better. Let's go show them how good we actually are. And that's a motivating factor. It's a different type of conversation. Now the conversation shifts to, we're here on a business trip. We're here to take care of business. We are going to win this game. We're going to flex our muscle. We're going to wear them out. And we're going to beat them. You know, we're going to pop them in the mouth and beat them. That's a different conversation. It's different motivation for players. I still think the good news, though, is that this team is hungry. This team obviously has a taste for winning and a continuation to be motivated to continue to win because they want bigger things. They're not even eliminated from the college football playoff discussion yet. How crazy is that, right? I mean, it's wild to even be talking about that. It's a small percentage. They would need a great deal of help, but they're not eliminated. They're not out of contention, which is wild. I mean, it's wild. In the second year, I mean, that's wild. The first year you were allowed to play in a bowl game, you are already ready to go for a bowl game. We don't know what bowl game that is yet, but you're going to a bowl game. So as I always say with this, just enjoy it. Enjoy this. Even the nail biters, enjoy it. Let's get the win. Let's go 7 in a row. Go undefeated in conference play going into a big game next week. If you hold serve and you do your part, who knows what kind of coverage? Who knows what channel that gets flexed to? Is it ESPN2 now instead of ESPNU, instead of SFS1? You know, it becomes a big game when you have two undefeated teams in the conference playing each other. Now, does Jax State have to take care of business? Absolutely they do. They have to travel to UTEP, which we saw UTEP. UTEP is not terrible, right? There is some talent there. They played us really well. They definitely played up to the competition, or we played down to the competition. But it's no walk in the park either for Jax State. So let's see what they do on their part. I would love for them to get knocked off tomorrow and start having those negative thoughts going into the following week. Because at the end, I want to win the conference. I mean, that's the goal. Win the conference, you know. Make this a legendary year for sure. So my score, I like 28-20 Kennesaw State. 28-20 Kennesaw State. I like Kennesaw State getting up by a couple touchdowns. New Mexico State comes back, makes it interesting, but still never uncomfortable, like they're going to win the game, basically. So I'm going to go 28-20 on this game. It's underneath the average, it seems like, the Kennesaw State scores. I probably should be saying 35-28, but I'm not going to. I'm going to go 28-20 on this game. That's just a feeling. There's no science behind that. It's just how I feel. Let's talk about the playoffs for a second. So college playoffs dropped the other day. It's the same old, same old. It's who you expect to see up there. A lot of SEC teams, a lot of Big Ten teams. The one I'm struggling with a little bit is Notre Dame. Struggling with Notre Dame a little bit. And first of all, I dislike the University of Miami's football team more than any other team in the country. Let me be clear. I am not a Miami fan. Root for Miami to lose every single week. But Miami beat Notre Dame. Miami has 2 losses. Notre Dame has 2 losses. How in the world is Notre Dame ranked 8 spots higher than Miami? That doesn't make any sense. Notre Dame has no business being ranked that high, in my opinion. Controversial take, I'm sure. But, I just don't. I see it on the schedule. They beat a bad Arkansas team. The best, how about this? The best win they have is they beat USC at home this year. USC is a fine team. They're not the best team in the world by any means, but they're a fine team. They barely beat Boston College, which has yet to beat a Division I team this year. That's wild to me, that they would be ranked that high. It's definitely a name only, because I'm not worried about Notre Dame in the playoff if I was playing Notre Dame. I don't think they're that good. I don't think they should be ranked that high. Maybe that'll take care of itself, depending on what Notre Dame's schedule is. I don't know it off the top of my head. I'm sure they're playing the Armed Services this week. Actually, they are. They're playing Navy this week. I was just making a joke, too, and that's actually accurate. They're playing Navy. So, yeah, I don't know. That one bothered me. It's one of the things I noticed right away. The SEC teams, it is what it is. it is what it is. Alabama, Georgia are right there, as they should be. Ole Miss is there, as they should be. The Texas jump, it's another one that bothers me a lot, is that this team lost in Gainesville to a Florida team that has talent for sure, but still is a losing record. They also lost to Ohio State, which, sure, that was a first week, I think 14-7, if I remember that correctly. Game of the century, they're number 1 in the country when they were going in there. It certainly wasn't the game of the century. But again, who's Texas beaten? They went to overtime with Kentucky. They should have lost to Mississippi State. So I'm a little confused by that. Now, my conspiracy mind would tell me that they want to give Georgia another big win over a highly ranked team. That game is a week from now in Athens. But, yeah, I can't figure that one out. That one's another one that bothers me a little bit. So, I don't know. It'll work itself out. It usually does. Of course, there'll be controversy. But listen, let me take you back 20 years when this conversation of playoff even started with the 4 teams. Is the argument stated that it'd be very difficult for the 5th place team to have an argument. Well, clearly that isn't the case. Years ago, 2 years ago, Florida State was undefeated and Alabama jumped them, as did Texas. So, that one right there was hard to understand that. And that's where that controversy started coming in with the 4 teams. So we go to more teams. And I remember a long time ago when you'd have this conversation about the playoff is, what in the world would the 13th best team have any argument to make? Now, I've not seen a situation to where the 13th team will have an argument to make, but we've never been in this situation. So I guess let's see kind of what the 12, 13 teams are, who gets left out, who's the first left out. Were they deserving? Was the 12th or 11th team deserving? Is Notre Dame in? I don't know. I think that it's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out. Obviously, if we go to 16 teams, which we will, it's going to be hard for the 17th team to make an argument. I'm just going to say it, but who knows what it looks like in real life, I guess. I just can't. Yeah, I just struggle with there being much controversy when you have that many teams, but It's amazing. The decision makers can still make it controversial sometimes for some reason. And it just doesn't make sense. And my biggest issue, I think, with it is simply that games have to matter. Games have to matter because a lot of these are hypotheticals. Georgia is better than Oregon, even though they have the exact same record. Well, why is that? Because of who they played or who they lost to? Not really. It's just what your perception is of these teams, what their history is. Bama lost to a terrible Florida State team. Why are they so good? They don't get penalized for that? So I think games matter. And Notre Dame lost head-to-head to Miami. How in the world are they ranked 8 places higher than Miami? Games must matter. If games stop mattering, what are we doing exactly with this sport? So the games must matter, and it's something that has to be taken into consideration. If Miami were to go 10-2 and Notre Dame is 10-2, Notre Dame makes the playoff? Okay, so now we're back to the whole idea of when you lost is what matters. Not who you lost to, who you beat head-to-head, who your record, what your record is. It matters about when you lost. Well, again, that's silly. Look at the pro model. Does it matter when you lost or what your record is and who you beat? Well, it matters what your record is, what your tiebreakers are, who you beat in your conference. It certainly doesn't matter if you lost the first game or the last game. It matters what your overall record is. So we need to use some common sense here and say that if two teams have the exact same record and they played each other, then the team that beat the other team should be in the playoff, not left out of the playoff. I mean, that's just, again, that shouldn't be hard to even argue. That's just common sense. It's what it should be. So we'll see. Like I said, we'll see. It's a little early right now. We still have about 4 weeks, sadly. We have 4 weeks left in the season before we get to bowl season. So let's see how it shakes out, and we can have this argument again and kind of see how it all kind of laid out. Some games tomorrow. So tomorrow's a funny day. Saturday's a funny day because Saturday's one of those weeks where you looked at it in the summertime and you're like, man, what a week. Game after game after game. And then the teams take the field, and now all of a sudden tomorrow's been like, it's okay, you know? So we'll see. We start off at noon with UGA at Mississippi State. Georgia's favored by 10.5. I hate that spread. I would take Mississippi State in the points if I was, again, please don't make any choices based on what I'm saying. This is not expert advice. I do not work in Las Vegas. I'm not a bookie. But I do know that Mississippi State's been playing very well. I do know that traveling to Starksville is not an easy task, and they've played a lot of teams very well at home this year. But if it was a late night game, I'd say, Georgia should definitely be on upset alert. But because it's a noon game, I'm not sure that it's going to be the same environment. But the fans will show up. They'll be ringing those bells. Of all the stadiums to visit, that is one I have really very little desire to go to. I'm sure it's a great environment, but those cowbells ringing in my ear all night long, I would have a headache within the first 5 minutes. I'm not sure that's top of the list. Something to check out, I guess, one day, but not top of my list of places to go to. Next game, this is actually a big one, is BYU at Texas Tech. This is really to control the Big 12. Texas Tech favored by 10.5, started at 7.5. Texas Tech, again, I'm going to keep saying it. Texas Tech's good. Texas Tech's a good team, but BYU just keeps winning too. I like Texas Tech in that game. I certainly don't like the 10.5 points. I think it's a close game, but I do like Texas Tech in that game. Oregon and Iowa, I think, is possibly, these next two games are your biggest potential upsets. Oregon versus Iowa is absolutely a possibility. Oregon having travel across the country, playing Iowa, completely opposite style than what Oregon plays with, right? Run the ball nonstop, play good defense. That's all Iowa does. Win a game 10-3, That's what Iowa wants to do. Kick some field goals, win a low-scoring game, and win's a win. I think that's a game to watch out for. I really do. I think that's one to pay attention tomorrow. The Texas A&M at Mizzou game tomorrow, Texas A&M favored by 7.5 at Missouri. Again, that's a game that Missouri's good. I mean, Missouri's a good team. And it's not going to be just kind of a walkover, I don't think. That coach will have them ready to play. Drinkowitz will have Missouri ready to play. Now, I think Texas A&M is a very good team. They're so much better than what I thought they were going to be. That quarterback especially is a lot better than what I thought he was going to be. So it's definitely a game that Texas A&M is favored for a reason. They are a very, very good team. Elko has a great defense, as he always does wherever he is. But going into Mizzou, I mean, watch out. Watch out. So those are the two games. Those are both, I think, 3:30 games. We get into the night portion of it. You've got LSU versus Bama. What this game could have been and what it has become is unfortunate. Bama favored by 10.5. I don't know. I mean, maybe you get the new coach bounce for LSU now that Brian Kelly's gone, but it's unlikely. That offense still can't score. It's the same players. Defense is solid. I think Bama wins that game. I'm not sure by 10.5, but I think Bama wins that game. Florida State at Clemson. What used to be a great game is now an absolute trash can fire. What is it? Dumpster fire. Wow. Is an absolute dumpster fire of two teams coming together. Clemson 3-5. Florida State 4-4 right now. This is a horrible, horrible game with two not very good teams. I have no idea. I mean, there's a part of me that thinks Dabo's lost that team, and I think he may be seeing his way out at the end of the season, either taking the LSU or Auburn job. I would lean more towards LSU because he is a Bama grad, so going to Auburn, that's a tough sell. And yes, it's that serious in Alabama. I think he's ready to go. I think the message has 17 years. I think his time is coming to a close, and the tangents he has every single week in these press conferences are ridiculous. So I would hate to pick this game. I think FSU wins that game. And I think that Clemson has quit on Dabo. And maybe I'm wrong. I probably am wrong, but that's just my gut feeling based on what I saw on the sidelines last week with the loss at Duke at home. It used to be hard to go to Death Valley and win. It's not hard anymore. People are doing it all the time. The most impressive win that Clemson has had is against UNC, which is not good, and Troy, and they were losing to Troy. So Florida State win that game would not surprise me. Wake at Virginia. Virginia just keeps trying to lose, it seems like. I don't know. Virginia's a funny team. Now, that's one of those where I get why they're ranked where they are. And if they win the conference, they probably make it to, but they'll probably, if they win the conference, they make it to the playoffs. But that team is a funny team. Their defense is not very good. Their offense is good. Wake's weird. Wake's a Jekyll and Hyde team, as we've seen. You know, one week they'll beat SMU, and the next week they'll lose to Florida State 42-7. I mean, just get their head kicked in. Virginia's at home. I'll take Virginia. I wouldn't touch 7.5. Here's a late night one, though. Now, this one may be worth your time if you are in the market to, wager anything, pizza money on anything. San Diego State goes to Hawaii. San Diego State is favored by 7.5 points. First of all, Hawaii's not bad. Hawaii's a pretty decent team. Hawaii's especially a pretty decent team at home on the islands there. Traveling even from San Diego over to Hawaii is a lengthy flight. It's not close. Those of you who have done it, I think it's like 8 to 10 hours to go from California into Hawaii. I think it's a long flight. So, I mean, that's also brutal. So yeah, I like Hawaii in the points for sure tomorrow. That's what I'd be all over, actually, if that was something I partaked in, which I'm not advising, nor do I. But it would be something I'd be interested in, because I think that that's one of those where on paper, it looks like San Diego State's absolutely going to win. But in reality, traveling over there and playing Hawaii, who is a very decent team, at Hawaii, that has upset written all over it, if you want to dig that deep. But those are the biggest games of the day. Again, what could have been and what is, it's unfortunate, but it is college football. And there's always, listen, here's the best part about weekends like this, is the ones you never see coming. You look at a schedule and you're like, ugh, there's just really nothing going on. It's always like week 2 in the season. There's really nothing going on. And it's just upset after upset after upset after upset. So tomorrow we'll have the potential for that for sure. It'll be entertaining. So we'll get a pretty good idea. We'll get an idea tonight. There's some games on tonight that may be good. The Tulane game tonight should be a good one. And there's a few others I can't remember off the top of my head. But I'll definitely watch tonight and see kind of what's going on, kind of get an idea for what's coming up this weekend a little bit. But guys, that's it. We're back to 35 minutes. We did it. We're nailing it. I hope you're doing well. Hope you've had a good week. Enjoy tomorrow. I'll jump on with a reaction to the game on Sunday. Hopefully it's another victory cast, 7 in a row. That'd be terrific. Again, please like and subscribe. Check out the Etsy store. And yeah, have a great evening. Have a great Saturday. I'll talk to you Sunday. Take care. Bye.